Namaskar, welcome back to the second lecture of Environmental Impact Assessment and Audit for class MSc second semester 3 at KTHM College, Nashik. I am Assistant Professor Prachi Ingre from Department of Environmental Science. Today's topic we are going to cover our concept of EIA within the framework of sustainable development and EIA definition and objective purposes and history of EIA. So, the concept of EIA within the framework of sustainable development is a process in which environmental factors are integrated into project planning and decision making so as to achieve environmental sustainability. The sustainability concept is a valid and important environmental management perspective. The factors which are integrated are being put forth by UNESCO. The sustainable goals are as follows. There are around 17 sustainable goals, out of which the first is around an individual, that is, no poverty, zero hunger, and good health and well being. It is around the community, like quality education, gender equity, clean water and sanitation, affordable clean energy, decent work, and economic growth. It also speak about industries like industrial innovation and infrastructure, reduce inequity. It also has goals for sustainable cities and communities, our surrounding, where we are supposed to be responsible for responsible consumption and production through nature. After all, we are also responsible for climatic action, like whatever there is difference after the industrial growth, like the climatic changes in climate give rise to difficulties for organism in water to grow as well as on land. So climatic change give rise to inconvenience to the natural factors around us. So UNESCO also focuses on climatic action, life below water, life on land, and around. Covering each and every point, it also speaks for peace and justice, strong institution, and partnership goal for the betterment of the world to dwell as a better place. So, whenever we are speaking about environmental impact assessment of any type of project, the project should never hinder all these 17 points. In case if it happens so, it is expected for a it is expecting for a mitigatory measure or for a mitigatory or an option which will reduce the stress on the nature as well as it will be convenient for the people who are going to dwell with the project. So the framework of sustainable development is standing on three pillars of social, environmental, and economic base. The relationship between society and environment should be bearable. That means the carrying capacity of the environment should be as much and the social burden should be less beyond. That means whatever consumption we are doing from the environment should be least. On the other hand, there should be a scope for the environment to grow on its natural account so that it can serve for a longer time. Beside that, the relationship between environment and economy should be viable. That means each and every factor in the environment plays an important role and on its own level. Hence, the factors should not be exceeding the limit for the economic use. Getting it? So, whenever we are speaking about the relationship between economy and environment, it should be viable. When we speak about the relationship between social and economics, The social economics should be equitable. That means, according to the contribution of the factors, economy should be equally distributed. Okay, that means whatever economy is there, it should not be raised to some particular class, and it shouldn't be taken away from some other factor or some other class. There should be a proper distribution according to their ratios. On the other hand, when we speak about the bearability of society and environment, the equitability within society and economics, and the viability between environment and economics, the relationship will give a strong pillar of sustainability. And then we are expecting all the environmental impact assessment projects should be sustainability focused. On the other hand, they should reduce the excess burden on the nature. So let us turn towards the history of environmental impact assessment. It all started from America as originated in early 1970s with the implementation of National Environmental Policy Act NEPA in USA. NEPA was built for USA. This act was built for USA. Now the thing is that all the countries around the world had taken the formal process in many ways. Like it is seen that all the countries who were developed countries, they took a few steps like NEPA, and then in these steps, environmental impact assessment came into existence. Nowadays, EIA is a mandatory regulatory process. A large part of the initiated developed countries development take place in few higher income countries like Canada, Australia, New Zealand. However, these were some developing countries as well which introduced EIA relatively early. Colombia in 1970s, Philippines in 1978 before NEPA, there was no EIA. That means NEPA gives a broad sustainable outline to study the impact analysis. So what are the goals NEPA is focusing on? NEPA focuses to fulfill the responsibility of each generation as a trustee of environment for succeeding generation. That means I am responsible for the consumption of the environment, and I am responsible to give the best from my side to my generation, to my next coming generation, to my grand generation, assuring for all Americans safe, helpful, productive, aesthetic, cultural, pleasing surrounding. That means it is expected that wherever an individual is working, wherever the individual is living, wherever the individual is representing, the surrounding should be pleasing. That means the present surrounding. That means there should be no inconvenience from the sustainable point of view. That means cultural sustainability, health, and aesthetic sustainability is expected. Attaining the widest range of beneficial use environment without degrading risk to health or safety or other undesirable untitled consequences. Like me, wherever the workers are working, their particular working conditions should never be harmful in any ways. Like if somebody is working at a what we say at a mill or at a mine, the conditions should never be harmful to him. Like as we everybody know, the conditions over there in mines are like not very healthy. There are various unhealthy practices going on around the world. So these practices should be minimum and healthy practices should be maximum so as to reduce the risk to health and safety. Preserve importance to historical, cultural, and natural aspects for our national heritage. Every country, every place, every single micro centimeter, micro inch gives a particular significance of its presence. So, this significance should be kept as it is so that our next generations could understand what is the importance of those particular elements, and maintain wherever possible an environment which supports the diversity and various varieties of individual choice. It also says about achieving a balance between population and resources, which will permit high standard of living and wide sharing of life amenities. That means we are expected to go for the renewable resources so as to conserve the non-renewable resources. After that, enhance the quality of renewable resources and approach the maximum attainable recycling of depleting resources. That means every factor is responsible for their particular duties. And the other part of the NEPA focuses on the administrative part. Wherever, whichever country is there, the administration should look into the favor of the people, into the favor of the public, into the favor of the particular population, or not only the particular population, the whole population. They are expected that they should be easily avail with all those facilities. Is the work of the particular management or say administration. On the other hand, NEPA is giving a guidelines to the user group. That means whatever factors are there, whoever people are there, they are responsible for using, and they are responsible for being a trustee of that particular natural condition, that they will keep it as it is for next coming generations. On the other hand, NEPA, the second part of the NEPA is speaking about the particular regulations which are supposed to be followed by the administration. And on the same basis, EIA also works with the same strategy. That is, environmental impact assessment also works in the same strategy. So, in India, it is seen that we had n number of projects in 1970s. The major projects were River Valley projects. So, Indian experienced environmental impact assessment in beginning of around 1976-77. An environmental angle was expected from Planning Commission, hence asked the Department of Science and Technology for a detailed impact assessment report. This was subsequently extended to cover those projects which require the approval of public investment boards. Okay, so it started in 1970s. Okay, after that till 1994. Okay, clearance from the central government was administrative decision and it was lacking with legislative supports. Now, what are legislative supports? Legislative supports means various acts, rules, and regulations of a particular nation. In India, we have Water Act, Air Act, okay, Forest Act, and number of various types of acts. So all these acts after that in 1994 were till 1994 it was like this should be done, that shouldn't be done. After that, it has a very strong formula. But as time changes, any particular condition, the particular factors change. With the changing condition, the factors should also be updated. And the updation was done to the environmental impact assessment procedure in India in 1994. And in 1994, the Union Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Government of India, under the Environmental Protection Act 1986, okay, they promoted an EIA notification. That the notification was making environmental clearance mandatory for expansion or modernization of any activity or for setting up new projects. And the list was in Schedule 1 of that particular notification. Till 1994, and from 1994 till 2006, we were following the notification to notification 1994, environmental notification till 1994. After 1994, again it was amended And after that, around 12 amendments were done in notification to 1994, and 2006 notification came into existence in September 2006. Now, this notification makes it mandatory for various projects such as mining, thermal power plant, river valley projects, infrastructures like roadways, highways, ports, harbors, and airports, and industries including very small electroplating or foundry units to get environmental clearance. However, unlike the EIA notification 1994, the new legislation has put the ounce of clearing project on the state government depending on the size and capacity of the project. That means in EIA, in India, EIA is being he is being followed in two ways. It is instructed by the central government as well as the particular state government according to the size and capacity of that particular project which is going to be run. Okay, till here, what we have studied, like we have studied about the sustainable aspects. We have been studying the sustainable framework. The sustainable framework is being given to us from UNESCO. Now, after this sustainable aspect, we have seen how NEPA in America plays an important role to give rise to EIA, and then how EIA around the world was being followed. After that, since 1970s, how EIA came into existence through River Valley in India. And after that, till notification 2006, we have studied EIA in various aspects. We have EIA had played a major role in various aspects. So after that, now we are going to actual define EIA. The actual definition can be defined as the systematic identification and evaluation of potential impact. Systematic identification and evaluation. Identification means to indicate the particular factors, whether it should be done, whether it is necessary, whether it is inconvenient, whether it is going to be helpful. All the factors are to be identified. On the other hand, it should be evaluated. When we speak about evaluation, we need a particular scale. Okay, we can go for grading, we can go for marking, we can go for analyzing it in a particular matrix formation. So evaluation is like how much good, how much bad. Maybe it is a percentile. So identification and the extent of its potential is to be studied. The first part is the study, and the second part is defined as impact of proposed projects. Now, which projects? Projects, plans, programs, legislative action related to the physical, chemical, biological, historical, political, or cultural, socio-economic components of total environment. Now, when we speak about the total environment, it is not at all relating environment like soil, water, and air. Most of the students around the world, when we ask them, what is environment? What you to study in environment? Then they will say, we are studying soil, we are studying air environment, we are studying water. No, no, no. That is a part of your particular environment, but that is not the whole environment. So the whole environment constitutes of around many other factors, and all those factors are being included in the sustainable framework of UNESCO. Okay, all the factors are again subtitled with historical, political, cultural, or socio-economic, chemical, physical, biological. Getting it? So with this, we can define EIA as the systematic identification and evaluation of potential impact of proposed project, plan, program, or legislative action relating to the physical, chemical, biological, historical, and political, cultural, socio-economic components of the total environment. So the objectives of EIA, that is to identify, predict, and evaluate the economy, environment, and social impact of developmental activities. Do you remember in the first slide we have been speaking about the pillars of sustainability? The pillars of sustainability: economics, environment, and social factors. To predict and identify the evaluation of the particular three factors. Then it also says about to provide information of environmental consequences for decision making. That means if I find out some or the other problem in a very, very minute phase, like in next 10 years, it may increase 10,000 times. Or in next 50 years, it may not be in existence. So from all points of view, we are expected that the information should be so strong that environmental consequences of decision making should be very, very confirm, very easy, very like with very strong evidence. It should be effective to promote environmentally sound and sustainable development through the identification of appreciation, alternatives, and mitigation measures. So it is going to identify, it is going to evaluate, it is going to provide information, and it is going to promote environmentally sound sustainable development. These are the objectives of EIA. And after that, today I am going to assign you write a short note on history of EIA and add a note on definition of EIA. Okay, in today's lecture, we had been speaking about the history, the definition, environment in the sustainable framework, and after that we have also defined EIA in very easy way. So in the second lecture I had been assigning you history of EIA. You have to write down a short history of EIA, short note on history of EIA, and also add a note on definition of EIA. In the next lecture we are going to speak about the eightfold part of EIA, the guidelines of EIA, and the life cycle of EIA. Until then, keep studying. Stay home, stay safe, keep studying. Thank you.